There's this paper, it was in a smaller medical journal. I think of it as an Atul Gawande B-side about the opioid epidemic and kind of the role of surgery and opioids. It's not a topic I've seen you write on a lot, but it's one I'm sure you have thoughts on. And you know, the thing you write about there is giving, and it did actually relate to some of the conversation we've had earlier about giving patients reasonable expectations about what medicine can and can't do. In this case, how much pain to expect in a post-operative situation. And I was curious how you look at the opioid epidemic we're having right now, what the role of professional medicine has been in that, and where you feel like we are in moving out of that, moving away from that, and where it leaves patients with pains. What you tell people when you don't have a safe way to figure out to solve chronic pain.
Yeah, I'm amazed you picked up on this article. I was writing this to my fellow surgical audience in a surgical journal where it was a special issue devoted to the latest research on what we knew about opioids. And basically, what it showed was that we as a profession have caused an epidemic that is bigger than the HIV epidemic. We have more deaths from drug overdoses than occurred in the peak of the HIV/AIDS epidemic in 1995. That's how big this is. It's more deaths than in motor vehicle accidents. And the cause in the opioid epidemic has been, starts with getting a prescription of opioids from physicians who, where we weren't recognizing, I certainly wasn't recognizing, the extent to which we were putting people at risk. And I think the key thing that has stuck in my mind was that when you go in for an operation, and you give a supply of opioid pills, that if people are on those pills for 7 days, they have an 8% chance of 1 year later still being on those narcotic pills.
Wow.
It is
startling.
Huge. It is startling. I had no idea. Basically, I was like, more is better. Take some.
And where did you develop that? Like, I'm sure is it
really
pharma reps, or what happens when?
No, it really was out of the movement that said and I saw this all the time in my surgical training, we did not treat pain. We left people in terrible pain and in suffering, and it was a kind of inhumanity that I thought was unacceptable. And so I really keyed into the lessons from people like palliative care clinicians saying, we have to measure pain and we have to treat pain. But what we had not done was continue to measure kind of what was happening along the way. There are many reasons for that we can talk about, including not funding the research behind it, which was crucial, and the kind of marketing that the companies did. But the biggest reason was that we weren't recognizing this issue. And so this editorial said a few things. Number one is there are things that we can do and we still weren't doing. We're at the height of the epidemic and we still weren't doing. Number one was there was a group of people who did some basic research showing that, for example, after so I do cancer surgery, and after thyroid surgery or breast cancer surgery, that 10 pills covered the need of more than 80% of patients. And you'd still have a third of them have leftover pills. And so we should be prescribing way less than we often give out, and we should have the research that shows what that need really is. Second, that we have to teach people that the goal is not zero pain. The goal is that you have enough pain that there'll be an ache, but you can do the things you want to do. You can sleep, you can eat, you can go shopping, you can do the things you need to do. Third, tell people these are addictive, and that weighing that against your choices. Fourth, teach them how to dispose of these. So the biggest thing is that the leftover pills get stolen and then go onto the black market that way. So the FDA has methods. So for narcotics, for example, you can flush it down the toilet and you can tell people to dispose of it that way. And then finally, there's a need for electronic prescribing. We have capacity. Virtually all doctors now prescribe electronically for non-narcotics. There are the systems in place to prescribe narcotics electronically, and that allows you to trace where narcotics end up, and also make it so you don't feel bad giving just enough pills, because then if they call you saying, I need more, you can enter the prescription and go there, rather than I have patients coming in from out of state even, and then you're telling them, drive back 4 hours to pick up the paper prescription, which is the only way otherwise you'd get it. New York State flipped to that system, and it has heavily cut the diversion of narcotic medications and the amount of the medication flow. Now we're on the back end where you have so many people addicted, and now that we're tightening it up, it's moved over into heroin and into illegal fentanyl and other things that have complicated things along the way.
But it sounds like you attribute a large role of this to professional
We started it.
medicine.
We started it.
Wow.